morning, everybody. Welcome to Tea with Stacy. It's that time again. I'm very excited to have you here. What kind of tea am I doing today? Well, I'm feeling quite disordered because life in general around here is quite disordered. So I decided I would just have myself a strict British breakfast tea. Get myself straightened out first thing in the morning. And I don't have the little container for it. It is from the Republic of Tea, and I do have a little cream in the bottom of my cup because British tea is good with a bit of cream, and it just helps you get a stiff upper lip. So that's what I'm going for today. I hope you're all well today. See, we were going to talk a little bit about chamomile today, but I thought I would share a few other things that are going on around here. So as you know, I'm working on a new studio, or actually I have a friend working on a new studio for me. And it's run into a few snags. I'll do a little video later, but it's kind of been put on hold for a little bit. So now my focus is to try to rein in the chaos for a little while. And stay tuned for the video when I go on outside, and I can talk to you about the chaos a little bit. My sweet friend was in a car accident. Thankfully, he's not incredibly injured, but he and his wife were rear-ended on the highway, and so they are suffering from some pretty severe whiplash, which is nothing to laugh at. That's just something you got to take care of. I used to work for a chiropractor, and I used to see a lot of whiplash people, and it's a painful thing. So I really, really hope that they're going to be okay and that they take their time and get better. Also, I was going to talk a little bit about one of my obsessions, and that is Tasha Tudor. And I'm really excited because I got some books that they're on their way, and I hope they'll be here by next week, and I'll share some of those books with you. She was an incredible artist. She was an illustrator. She illustrated books like The Secret Garden, and a bunch of others that are pretty famous, and it just went, Wind in the Willows. That was another one. But she was also really known for her gardens and her way of life, where she stepped back into another time period, basically, and lived her life in a very simple manner that way. She even dressed that way. And I don't think I'd go to that quite extreme, but I really loved her working pattern, and that was she did illustrations in the winter. In the summers, she focused on her gardens. So that's kind of the pattern that I've been trying to follow. I think I'll still be doing some art during the summers because it's kind of hard to stop. But right now, everything's, up in the air, and so I needed a stiff upper lip tea, and oh, that is lovely. I thought about having chamomile today, but I couldn't find my chamomile. I tell you, it's a bit of chaos. We've got chaos going on around here. So let's talk about chamomile. So chamomile, there's a couple of different varieties of chamomile that we'll talk about, and that's German chamomile and wild chamomile. And we can start with the tea book, The 20,000 Secrets of Tea. I love starting with tea because tea is always edible stuff, and I think it's really good to have that information. And so wild chamomile, I said, but there's also German chamomile, and I'm not sure which one may be wild. There's Roman and there's German. Anyway, it's called the All-Around Comforter, and I love that. And it comes from, the German is Matricaria recutita, and I was reading somewhere that meant mother, and I don't think it's in this one, but they call it the apple of the ground because when you kind of walk on it, it releases a kind of an apple scent. And it was one of the 9 sacred herbs of the Saxons, who called it Maythen. The name comes from the Greek chamai, or on the ground, and melon or ground apple after its fragrance. So, and it's really quite, it's really a common herb. We all know about chamomile. Chamomile tea is calming. It helps aches. It helps burns. It helps nausea. It helps eat, sleep. It calms you. It's been used through the ages, also as an eye treatment, including pink eye. Is also used for asthma, hay fever, sinusitis, and it's used as a hair rinse for people who have light colored hair. It can make your hair a little blonder, which I think is really cool. So let's look at Rodale's herbs, successful gardening of. And I think this one just has a simple, again, it's going to show a picture. This one is the Roman chamomile right there. Here it is. You can see the picture of it with the little white flowers. They look a little bit daisy-ish, So this is also an interesting point. Herb gardens of yesterday often included a lush lawn of chamomile. And it's, I read somewhere else, I guess we'll have to find it, but you can walk on it and it does fine like grass. So I'm planning on putting some seed in my grass areas, so I'm excited about that. The best climate is zones 3 to 8, likes full sun to partial shade, light moist garden soil. I don't know about that for my area. We'll see how it does. The growing habit is 6 to 9 inches tall, and it's a perennial, which we love perennials, don't we? It does say that when you're drying the flowers, to cover it with a cheesecloth, because that will help protect it from potential storage pests, little bugs that like to try to get in there. So that's interesting. And then a new book that I got a few weeks ago about the Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. This one has a lot of information on it. Again, I'm just reading what's said here. I'm not giving any, advice or anything. And I just like to know what it does so that when I use it in my oils for skin, I'm good with it. Okay, so we have Carolina geranium. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Geraniums. We'll look at that another time. Chamomile. Okay. Chamomile is a commonly used useful herb. It's a calming plant. It is in Aster daisy family. How funny, I just said it looked daisy-like. They are in the daisy family. You can distinguish the plant from similar flowers by the pattern on which the flowers grow. Each flower grows on an independent stem, which I think is a really good point. But the easiest way here, it tells you the most common way to figure out if it's chamomile is pick a flower and crush it. Does it smell like chamomile? Then it's chamomile. And then we have, talks about German chamomile, English chamomile. They have similar medicinal uses. It's just describing the way it's shaped, edible use. The flowers make the best tea. So you can use the leaves and flowers for medicinal use, but the flowers make the best tea, and I agree. I think they smell really wonderful, and it just helps. It helps digestive issues, colic, and apparently it was used a lot for babies teething. And then this does have a warning. It's uncommon, but some people do have an allergic reaction to chamomile. So if you're allergic to the Asteraceae family, including ragweed, you would probably be allergic to chamomile. So those are all really good to know. And then in the Earthwise Herbal book, this one talks about both the German and Roman chamomile, and they've been used interchangeably since antiquity, and their uses are not well differentiated in the literature, not even in homeopathy. Both contain a blue volatile oil called azulene. Long considered the active ingredient responsible for the majority of medicinal properties. It's relaxant and anti-allergenic. And it contains flavonoids, cooling and relaxing in it. And it's got mucilage for soothing and amino acids, fatty acids, coumarins. So it's got all sorts of stuff. It's a folk medicine of great antiquity in Europe, and it's primarily used for tension, pain, and fever, especially where the digestive tract is involved, especially the mouth, teeth, stomach, and intestines. So it's, again, not much. This is the one that talked about children during teething. And so, you know, there's a huge history of this for sedation, for calming. It's also listed here for dandruff, facial neuralgia, eye irritation, acute colds. There's just a whole lot of stuff that I think is interesting. It's slightly different than, you know, a lot of the other herbs, but pretty similar in some ways. It's good for irritation and swelling from any cause on the skin. That's what I'm mostly interested in, of course. The skin says it helps with any abscess or pus formation in the face, jaws, with tenderness and pain, irritation and swelling from any cause, eczema, psoriasis, urticaria, burning, burns, blisters, radiation burns, acne, impetigo, skin light, delicate skin with excessive sensitivity. And it's interesting that it mentions radiation there because my son had to go through radiation to his chest and radiation to his brain. And when they did the radiation to his brain, he was, of course, without hair because he'd been doing chemo for a while. And so that radiation would burn the top of his head. And even the medical doctors recommended chamomile baths. And that's what we would do. We'd soak his little chest in chamomile on the top of his head. And it really did, it did help him. Again, that's another connection for me with herbs and how they can help us, especially our skin. And then I've got a few more other things here. This herb one, let's see, what is it? It's and I think I got it out because it had a really nice drawing picture. Yeah. I like this book because it has some really great illustration pictures. So it's got German and Roman chamomile illustration. And as you can see, they look quite similar. And the nice thing about that too is that they're very similar in uses and in smell. So really you don't have to worry about which one you're getting. So that's chamomile. And I love to do the infused oils with the chamomile. And then I put that in my lotions and balms, depending on what I'm making. I think I'm going to be focusing more actually with it because I had actually forgotten about how we used it for my kiddo's skin during radiation. For him, it was a 2-week long radiation for his head. The chest was a week. But for the brain, it was 2 weeks, you know, off on the weekends. So it was 10 days of radiation. It was really hard on him. You know, it's not something that's like immediately painful, but it's certainly hard on the body, hard on the mind, hard on the brain. It certainly has affected him down the road as well. But as far as the skin goes, the radiation, you know, damaged skin, but the chamomile helped soothe it and calm it for him when he was going through that. So that's a good reminder because that's something I experienced with it. And chamomile is really so common and easily accessible. The only thing I would say is that there are so many chamomile teas out there, but I definitely see a difference in quality in chamomile. Just because it has chamomile in it doesn't necessarily mean it's strong enough to do stuff for you. So I think it's just like with anything, really look at the quality of the product. You know, is it organic? Is it really all chamomile, or is there a bunch of other fillers in with it? And that's just really what I you know, I look at personally. And then when I do make my lotions and balms, I like to combine everything with plantain. Plantain is, of course, my very favorite herb because it not only heals, it draws. So it draws infection and it draws irritation and it draws poison while it's healing the skin. So it heals it from inside on out. So that's why I really love plantain. But then I add other things like chamomile or calendula, and maybe next week that's a good one. We'll look up calendula next week, and hopefully I'll have some more stuff on Tasha Tudor, and I get to share with you. And I will be showing you the chaos outside soon. I hope you're all having a beautiful week. You had a great weekend, and I love you all. Also, be kind to yourself. There's only one you. Look, I said kind. I meant gentle because that's what I usually say. I'll tell you what, I need some more tea. Be gentle with yourself. There's only one you. Bye.